Hey guys, tonight we're diving into a story you think you know, but trust me, the real version is a little rougher around the edges. We're talking about The Frog Prince, but we're stripping away the sanitized kisses and ballroom dances to get to the grimy, uncomfortable truth. This isn't a story about a charming prince waiting for a tender kiss. It's a story about a spoiled princess, a desperate frog, and a brutal act that changed everything. If you were the princess, you'd probably throw up, and if you were the frog, you'd probably feel a lot of things that aren't romantic. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And in the comments, tell me where you're listening from tonight and what time it is. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You are a princess, and let's be honest, you've got it pretty good. The sun is a warm, benevolent presence on your skin. The air is thick with the sweet perfume of the palace gardens, and your every whim is met by a retinue of bowing servants. Your father, the king, adores you. He indulges your every impulse, from the silk gowns you demand daily to the expensive, glittering toys that fill your private chambers. You are, in every sense of the word, spoiled. This isn't a judgment, it's just a fact. You've never known hardship, never known the sting of a calloused hand, never known the hollow ache of true want. Your world is a gilded cage, and you are its beautiful, pampered occupant. Your most prized possession is a small, golden ball, a perfectly smooth, impossibly heavy orb that catches the sunlight and throws it back in dazzling rainbows. It is your constant companion. You take it everywhere, to the royal baths, where you bob it on the surface of perfumed water, to your lessons in embroidery, where you absent-mindedly bounce it on the polished marble floor, and most of all, to the cool, dark woods that border the palace gardens. Today, you are in the woods. The air is cooler here, the sunlight dappled and broken by the dense canopy of ancient oaks. You are playing near a deep, perpetually shadowy well, its stone rim slick with moss and the passage of time. The well is old, its depths a mystery whispered about by the servants. They tell tales of ancient spirits and forgotten treasures. You, of course, are too rational, too modern, to believe such nonsense. You are a princess, not a superstitious peasant. You are bouncing your golden ball, enjoying the satisfying thump as it hits the stone and rebounds perfectly into your hand. The rhythm is hypnotic, a simple and comforting pleasure in your otherwise complex life. You toss it higher and higher, a glinting, impossible arc of gold against the green. You are smiling, a genuine and carefree smile. When it happens, one moment, the ball is a brilliant speck against the sky. The next, your fingers slip. It sails past your outstretched hand, a silent, terrible plummet towards the well. You hear the faint, echoing plop as it hits the water below. Your heart, a thing you never knew could ache, constricts in your chest. You rush to the well's edge, peering into the inky blackness. You can see nothing but your own distorted reflection and the deep, watery darkness that has swallowed your beloved toy. You call its name as if it were a pet, not a ball, your voice a thin, panicked shriek. You feel a hot, bitter wave of tears well up in your eyes. This is, for you, an unbearable tragedy, the most profound sorrow you have ever known. The loss of a prized possession in pre-modern societies, particularly for royalty, was not just an emotional event, but could carry symbolic weight. An object of gold, a rare and valuable material, was a signifier of status and wealth, and its loss could feel like a diminishment of one's power or identity. This golden ball wasn't just a toy, it was a physical manifestation of your privileged life, and now, it's gone. You slump against the cold, damp stone, your tears flowing freely, the sobs rack your body, a sound so alien and unprincess-like that it startles even you. You would give anything to have it back. You would give a jewelled necklace, a silk gown, a month's worth of pastries. You would give anything, absolutely anything, to feel that smooth, heavy gold in your hand again. A voice, low and guttural, a sound like a frog's croak but with an impossible, educated cadence, breaks the silence. Princess, what is the matter? Why do you weep so bitterly? You stop sobbing, your head snapping up. You look around, expecting to see a servant hiding behind a tree, teasing you, but there is no one. You are alone, save for the shadowy depths of the well. The voice comes again, closer this time, from the well itself. The heavens themselves should not weep for a thing as paltry as a golden ball, the voice says, with a tone of casual superiority. You are so taken aback by the absurdity of the situation that you forget your tears. You peer down into the well's darkness, squinting, and there, on a small, mossy lily pad, is a frog. A perfectly ordinary, slimy, green-skinned frog is looking up at you with large, dark, unblinking eyes, a faint, almost imperceptible smirk on its wide mouth. The sheer audacity of the creature, a mere amphibian addressing royalty, is shocking. What do you know of my sorrow, you disgusting creature? You hiss, your princess-like fury momentarily displacing your grief. I know, the frog says, his voice surprisingly calm, that you would give anything to have your golden ball back, and I, princess, can retrieve it for you. You stare at the frog, your mind reeling, a talking frog, a magic frog, the superstitions of the servants, the foolish tales you had dismissed, suddenly feel very real. The thought of your ball, sitting at the bottom of the well, is a powerful motivator. You are desperate. You ask, your voice a shaky whisper, what do you want in return? The frog's wide mouth seems to stretch into a satisfied grin. Oh, nothing much, princess. I don't want your jewels, or your silk gowns, or your pastries. I'm a simple creature, you see. It seems to be toying with you. A cruel game that plays on your vulnerability, your patience, never a strong suit, begins to fray. Just tell me what you want. You vile thing, I will give you anything. Anything, the frog repeats, his voice a soft, seductive promise. You promise to give me anything I ask for, and you swear it on your honour as a princess. You hesitate. An oath of honour is a serious thing, even for you, your father. The king has always stressed the importance of a royal promise. A word given by royalty is as solid as a stone wall, as unbreakable as an iron chain. But the thought of your ball, the sight of its golden splendour is too powerful. You are a princess. You can simply ignore an oath made to a frog. Right. He's just a slimy little animal. Yes, I promise anything. You cry, your desperation overcoming your better judgment. The frog closes its eyes for a moment, a look of profound satisfaction on its face. Then, with a graceful plop, it dives headfirst into the murky water. You watch, your heart pounding. As the ripples spread across the surface, a moment passes, then two. You begin to think the whole thing was a strange, heat-induced hallucination. Then, a tiny green head breaks the surface, and there, clutched in its mouth, is your golden ball, its surface dripping with slime and water, but brilliant as ever. The frog, with a surprising amount of effort, lugs the ball to the edge of the well. It tosses it onto the grass, where it lands with a soft thud, still wet and covered in a thin, glistening film of what you assume is well scum. But it's your ball, your beautiful, precious ball. You seize it, wiping it frantically on your silken sleeve, a joyous relief washing over you. The toy is heavy and reassuring in your hand. You are so overjoyed that you completely forget the frog, the promise, the entire absurd conversation. You turn, ready to run back to the palace and show off your miraculously retrieved treasure. Princess, the frog's voice says, its tone no longer a charming croak, but a commanding one. Your promise, You freeze. You turn, looking at the slimy green creature, its unblinking eyes fixed on you. The reality of what you have done, the oath you have made, suddenly feels immense and suffocating. You had forgotten. You had truly, completely forgotten. The frog, however, had not. "I have fulfilled my end of the bargain," it says, its voice firm. "Now, you must fulfill yours." You stare at the creature, a chill running down your spine that has nothing to do with the dampness of the well. You had thought it was a simple transaction, a joke, a bizarre moment in an otherwise mundane day. But the frog's unwavering gaze tells you that this is not a joke. This is real. This is a promise made, an oath sworn on your royal honour. The concept of oaths, vows, and curses in ancient and medieval societies was taken with immense seriousness. A spoken promise was often considered as binding, if not more so, than a written contract, particularly when given by a person of high status. Breaking such a promise was not just a social gaffe, it was a moral failing that could bring great misfortune or divine punishment. Your flippant promise, made in a moment of desperation, has trapped you in a very real, very serious, and very slimy predicament. The frog, with a slow, deliberate movement, begins to climb out of the well, its slimy green body, its large and unblinking eyes, its wide, unmoving mouth. It is a sight of pure, unadulterated revulsion. The thought of what it might ask for, what it might demand, sends a wave of disgust through you. You clutch your golden ball to your chest, your sense of triumphant relief replaced by a cold, stomach-churning dread. The game, it seems, has just begun, and you have no idea of the rules or the stakes, and for the first time in your life, you realise that your gilded cage may have just been opened, not to freedom, but to a profoundly unwelcome guest. You stare at the slimy green creature, its head now fully out of the well, its unblinking eyes fixed on you. The golden ball, once a source of comfort, feels like a hot, heavy rock in your hand. The triumphant relief of retrieving it has evaporated, replaced by a cold dread that pulls in the pit of your stomach. You had made a promise, and this disgusting creature intended to collect. The frog begins to hop towards you, each movement a wet, squelching sound that makes you involuntarily recoil. You are a princess. You have an innate, almost instinctive revulsion to anything dirty, anything that crawls on the ground. A slimy, wet frog is the antithesis of your existence. You take a step back, then another, your silken slippers sinking slightly into the soft earth. You clutch the golden ball tighter, as if it could somehow protect you from this bizarre and terrifying situation. "Princess," the frog says, its voice still surprisingly deep and resonant, a sharp contrast to its repulsive form. "Did you not promise to give me whatever I asked for? Did you not swear it on your royal honour?" You don't answer, your throat tight with a mixture of fear and disgust. You look back at the palace, a beautiful, distant fortress of safety and order. You think of your father, the king, a man who, for all his doting, valued honour above all else. A royal promise, and once given, was a sacred trust. To break it was not just a personal failing, but a betrayal of the crown itself. In medieval and early modern European societies, a monarch's word was considered a pillar of the kingdom's stability. Breaking a royal oath, especially in a formal or public manner, could lead to political instability, loss of reputation, and even divine retribution. This wasn't just a fairy tale rule, it was a deeply ingrained social and political reality. Your thoughtless promise has trapped you in a moral and social bind from which there is no easy escape. You turn and begin to run. You don't know where you are running, only that you must get away from this vile creature, from this impossible bargain. You run through the dappled sunlight and deep shadows of the forest, the golden ball bouncing precariously in your hand. You hear a sound behind you, A faint, rhythmic thump, thump, thump of the frog hopping in pursuit. It's a surreal, nightmarish chase. You burst out of the woods and into the manicured perfection of the palace gardens. The air is suddenly filled with the scent of roses and freshly cut grass. You run past a startled gardener, a maid carrying a basket of linens, and a young page boy. They stare at you, their expressions a mixture of shock and confusion. A princess, their flawless princess, running wildly through the gardens, her face pale with terror. You don't stop. You don't look back. You just run, your heart pounding a frantic rhythm against your ribs. You finally reach the massive, carved oak doors of the palace and burst inside. The cool, quiet air of the great hall is a welcome relief. You stand there, panting, leaning against a grand marble pillar, your golden ball clutched to your chest. The sound of the chase is gone. You are safe. You are back in your gilded cage. You close your eyes, trying to calm your racing heart, trying to convince yourself that it was all a bizarre, heat-induced hallucination. But then, you hear it. A slow, deliberate tap, tap, tap on the hard marble of the palace steps outside. It's the sound of the frog. It has followed you. It has found you. A fresh wave of panic washes over you, but this time, it's mixed with a strange, horrifying fascination. How could a mere frog, a creature so small and clumsy, have kept up with you? Folklore and magic often grant seemingly powerless creatures an unnatural persistence or intelligence when they are agents of destiny or a curse. The frog's relentless pursuit, defying its natural limitations, would have been interpreted as a clear sign of a magical or enchanted being, not a mundane one. This was not just a chase, it was a supernatural manifestation of a contract. The tap, tap, tap stops. You hold your breath, your eyes fixed on the heavy oak doors. A voice, clear and loud, a sound that resonates with the unbending will of a solemn oath, echoes through the great hall. Princess, open the door, your promise. The sound carries, clear and commanding, to the king's chambers. Your father, a kind, indulgent man who has never had to raise his voice to you, emerges from his study, his face a mask of concern. My dear, what is all this noise? Who is out there, demanding entry in such a rude manner? You say nothing, your eyes wide with terror, unable to find the words to explain the impossible situation. The king, seeing your distress, assumes you are being tormented by some rogue peasant. He strides to the door, his hand on the hilt of his ceremonial sword, a look of paternal protectiveness on his face. He flings the doors open with a flourish, ready to confront the rude intruder. He looks down, and there, on the polished marble steps, a creature of pure unadulterated slime and green flesh stares back at him. A frog, a perfectly ordinary, slimy frog. The king blinks once, then twice, utterly bewildered. He looks from the frog to you, his expression a mixture of confusion and disbelief. A frog, he asks, his voice a low, rumbling question. A frog, my dear. What does a frog want with us? The frog, completely unfazed by the king's regal presence, hops forward, its wide mouth seeming to curl into a confident smirk. Your Majesty, it says, its deep, resonant voice echoing in the silent hall. I am here to collect on a promise. The king looks at you, his eyes now narrowed with a sudden, serious gravity. He recognizes the tone in the frog's voice, the language of solemn vows, of unbreakable contracts. This is not a joke. He looks at your pale, tear-streaked face, at the way you clutch your golden ball as if it were a shield. Did you, my daughter, he asks, his voice low and dangerous, make a promise to this creature? You cannot lie. You are a princess, and lying to the king, your father, is an impossibility. Your royal upbringing, the very core of your identity, prevents it. You can only nod. a small, pathetic bob of your head. The king's face darkens. He looks at the frog, then back at you, a heavy, disappointed sigh escaping his lips. And what, pray tell, he asked the frog, was the promise? The frog, with the kind of casual arrogance that only an enchanted being could possess, hops a little closer. I retrieved her golden ball from the well, it says simply. In return, she promised to let me be her companion, to let me sit at her table, eat from her plate, drink from her cup, and sleep in her bed. Your father's face, once full of doting affection, hardens into a mask of solemn duty. His eyes, fixed on you, are no longer those of a loving father, but of a monarch passing judgment. The shame is a searing, physical pain. You had made a flippant promise, and now you had publicly shamed not just yourself, but the entire royal house. The frog's terms are not just disgusting, they are a direct challenge to the social order, to your royal privilege, to your very identity as a princess. The king looks down at the frog, then back at you. A promise is a promise, my dear. You gave your word, and a princess's word is her bond. You will fulfill this oath, no matter how distasteful it may be. With those words, your gilded cage, once a symbol of comfort and safety, becomes a prison. Your father, your protector, your enabler, has sided with the frog. He has chosen honour, the honour of the crown, over your personal comfort. He has effectively handed you over to this vile creature. The full, stomach-churning reality of what you must do, of what you have to endure, settles over you with a cold, terrifying finality. The frog has won, and your gilded life, the pampered, perfect existence you have always known, is about to be turned upside down by a small, slimy, and very persistent amphibian. The most boring, uneventful, and utterly disgusting dinner of your life awaits. The king's words hang in the air, a final, unbending judgment. Your father, the doting, indulgent man who has always shielded you from the world's ugliness, has sided with the frog. He has chosen the honour of the crown, the sanctity of a royal promise, over your comfort and peace of mind. The shame is a searing, physical burn on your cheeks. You stand there, mute, as the frog hops its slow, deliberate way into the great hall, its slimy form leaving a faint, glistening trail on the polished marble. It is a disgusting, horrifying sight, a mockery of the opulence and cleanliness that defines your life. Your father, with a grim expression of forced dignity, gestures towards the dining hall. Come, he says, his voice devoid of its usual warmth. Dinner is served, and you, he adds, looking at the frog, will join us. You walk with a heavy, leaden tread towards the grand dining hall, the frog's slow, wet hopping a constant. Repulsive sound behind you. The servants, a silent, disciplined army of uniforms, stare at the procession with wide, disbelieving eyes. A princess, her face pale with shame, followed by a talking frog that has just been granted a seat at the royal table. It's a scene ripped from a nightmare, an impossible juxtaposition of beauty and filth. The dining hall is a cavern of polished mahogany, glittering chandeliers, and a table laden with an impossible feast. Roasts, savoury stews, fresh-baked bread, and exotic pastries, all of it prepared with meticulous care. The sight of the food, once a source of simple pleasure, now makes your stomach clench with a rising nausea. You can only imagine the frog, this vile creature, sharing this table, this food, this space with you. The very thought is an unbearable defilement. The frog, with a surprising leap, lands on the chair next to yours. It is a large, upholstered chair, a throne-like seat fit for a monarch. The frog's slimy body sinks slightly into the plush velvet, and you watch, horrified, as a small, damp patch begins to darken the fabric. You involuntarily move your chair away. A sharp, scraping sound against the marble floor Your father, seated at the head of the table, looks at you with a silent, disapproving stare. "Now, my dear," he says, his voice a low, warning rumble. "Serve your guest." You stare at him, a silent plea in your eyes. He ignores it. He is no longer your indulgent father. He is the king. And you are a princess who has dishonoured the crown. The punishment is the lesson, and he intends for you to learn it in full. A servant presents a silver platter of roasted quail. You take a fork, your hand trembling, and nervously try to cut a small piece. The frog, however, is not a patient guest. Not so fast. "Princess," it says, its voice a soft, mocking croak. "The promise was that I would eat from your plate. Your blood runs cold." The frog, with another disgusting hop, lands on the dining table itself, its webbed feet leaving small, wet prints on the polished wood. You watch, horrified, as it makes its slow, deliberate way towards your own personal platter. It stops inches from your plate, its large, unblinking eyes fixed on the feast. "Give me your plate," it commands. You cannot. The very thought of sharing a plate with this slimy creature, of its wet body touching your food, is a deep, visceral revulsion. You grip the edge of the table, your knuckles white, but your father's eyes, cold and hard, are on you. You cannot break your promise again. You cannot dishonour the crown twice in one day. With a profound sense of humiliation, you push your plate towards the frog. It, in turn, with a quick flick of its long, sticky tongue, snatches a piece of the roasted quail. The sound it makes as it eats is a wet, slurping noise, utterly disgusting and completely alien to the polite, hushed atmosphere of a royal meal. You sit there, your appetite completely gone, watching in a horrified trance as the frog, your guest, devours your food, its wide mouth working at a furious pace. The concept of commensality, the act of eating together, was a powerful social ritual in most ancient and medieval cultures. To share a meal with someone was an act of intimacy, trust, and social equality. Forcing a princess to share a plate with a frog was not just a strange command. It was a profound act of social inversion, a deliberate debasement of her status, and a shocking violation of courtly norms. The frog's demand wasn't just about food, it was about power, and a public demonstration of its dominion over you. As it eats, the frog speaks, his voice muffled by the mouthful of food. "Your father, the king, has a very good cook. I have not tasted such fine fare in quite a long time." It pauses, and you watch, transfixed with disgust, as it belches softly. The sound is a small, rude affront to the otherwise silent hall. The king, for his part, just watches, a mask of unreadable disappointment on his face. You look down at your hands, at the empty plate. Your golden ball, the object of this entire nightmare, lies in your lap, no longer a treasure, but a symbol of your foolishness. The irony is a bitter pill to swallow. You had wanted your ball back so badly, and now you have it, but at an unbearable price. This disgust, this humiliation, this violation of your every sensibility, all for a toy, a single, stupid, golden ball. It is, to put it mildly, the worst dinner you have ever had. After a long, agonizing period, the frog is finally sated. Its belly, once flat and unremarkable, is now round and distended. It looks at you, a faint sheen of grease on its green skin. "You are not eating, princess," it says, a hint of genuine concern in its voice. "The food is excellent. You should have some." The hypocrisy is so staggering that you almost laugh. You eat, after watching this disgusting creature devour your food. Your appetite is utterly and completely gone. You can only shake your head, your throat too tight to form words. The frog, with a sigh that sounds remarkably human, pushes the empty plate back towards you. "Very well. but you must at least share a cup of wine. Your eyes widen with a fresh wave of panic. The wine, a deep ruby-red liquid, sits in a delicate crystal goblet next to your plate. You have been drinking this particular vintage since you were a child. It is a taste of home, of comfort, of royal tradition. To share it with this creature, the thought is utterly repugnant. But the frog, with another, more leisurely hop, lands on the table next to your goblet. It looks at you, his unblinking eyes holding a quiet, unwavering challenge. Your father, at the end of the table, waits, his expression stern. You have already broken the promise once in spirit. By running away, you cannot break it again. With a sense of profound resignation, you pick up the goblet. You hold it out, your hand trembling. The frog, with a slow, deliberate movement, leans its head forward. It dips its wide mouth into the ruby-red wine. You watch, horrified, as a small green tongue laps at the surface. It takes a long, slow drink, its throat rippling with the effort. When it is finished, it pulls its head back, a few drops of wine glistening on its slimy green skin. "Excellent," the frog says, a satisfied burp following its pronouncement. "Now, you must drink from the same cup." The command is so simple, so direct, so utterly horrifying. You look at the wine, the pristine crystal marred by the touch of this vile creature. You can see a faint ripple in the liquid, a telltale sign of its consumption. The thought of bringing that cup to your lips, of tasting what the frog has tasted, is more than you can bear. It feels like a physical assault, a violation of your very being. You look at your father, a silent, desperate plea in your eyes. He says nothing. His face is a stony mask of royal duty. You have no choice. The honour of the crown, the word of a princess, is on the line. With a shaking hand, you bring the goblet to your lips. You close your eyes, trying to block out the image of the frog, of its disgusting mouth on the rim. You take a sip, a tiny bitter swallow of the once sweet liquid. The taste is a mixture of fine wine and a faint, repulsive well scum. You force it down, a wave of revulsion threatening to make you gag. When you open your eyes, the frog is still there, staring at you, a profound satisfaction in its unblinking eyes. The challenge has been met. The promise has been fulfilled, in its disgusting, literal form. But dinner is over, and the night, it seems, has only just begun. The worst, you realise with a cold dread that settles deep in your bones, is yet to come. The thought of what the frog might ask for next, what the final part of its promise will entail, is more terrifying than any monster in a fairy tale. The final, bitter swallow of wine burns a path down your throat, a taste of humiliation and well scum. The frog, its belly full and its promise fulfilled, stares at you with a profound sense of satisfaction. The worst dinner of your life is over, but you know, with a cold dread that settles deep in your bones, that the night has only just begun. The final and most terrifying part of the bargain remains to be fulfilled. The king, your father, rises from the head of the table, his face still a mask of grim duty. He looks at you, his daughter, his beautiful doted-upon princess, and he sees a lesson that must be learned. "You have fulfilled your promise at the table," he says, his voice low and serious. "Now you must fulfill the rest of it. A princess's word is her bond, and you will not dishonour the crown again. You want to protest, to beg, to scream that this is a step too far, but you can't." The king's eyes, once so full of unconditional love, now hold a stern, unwavering command. He is not just your father, he is your monarch, and you have, through your thoughtless promise, put him in an impossible position. He has chosen duty over sentiment, and you are the unfortunate consequence. You cannot fight the will of the king. You cannot fight the sanctity of a royal oath. The frog, With a series of slow, deliberate hops, makes its way back to your chair. It lands on the armrest, its slimy body leaving a faint, glistening trail on the polished wood. "Come, princess," it says, its voice a soft croak that, in the quiet of the hall, sounds impossibly loud. "The time has come for the final part of your promise. You must take me to your chambers. We must share your bed." A wave of pure, unadulterated revulsion washes over you, a physical sensation so intense that you feel a fresh wave of nausea rise in your throat. Your bed, your sanctuary, the softest and the silks, the finest down, the scent of lavender and clean linen, a place of private comfort, of pristine security. To have this vile, slimy creature, this walking embodiment of filth, invade that space, the thought is an anathema to your very being. You recoil, shaking your head, a silent, frantic refusal. But the king's eyes are on you, a stern, unwavering presence. He says nothing. But his silence is a command. You cannot refuse. You cannot dishonour the crown. You are trapped. With a profound sense of resignation, you rise from your chair. Your legs feel like lead, your body a foreign, unwilling vessel. You hold your golden ball to your chest, no longer a treasure, but a burden, a symbol of the terrible price you must now pay. The frog hops onto your shoulder. It's cold. Wet webbed feet making contact with your skin through the delicate silk of your gown. The sensation is so profoundly disgusting that you stifle a gasp. A small, choked sob of revulsion. You begin the long, agonizing walk to your chambers, your body stiff with a revulsion that feels like a physical pain. The journey up the grand, winding staircase is a procession of shame. You are a princess, adorned in the finest silks, yet you are carrying a frog, a creature of the earth, a symbol of dirt and decay, on your shoulder. You pass paintings of your ancestors, of queens and kings who ruled with dignity and grace, and you feel their painted eyes judging you, a silent, unforgiving gallery of history. In the art and literature of this period, portraits of royalty were not just likenesses, but powerful symbols of dynastic legacy and royal authority. Your procession, with a frog on your shoulder, is a public debasement of that legacy, a jarring and sacrilegious juxtaposition that would have been deeply felt in this hierarchical society. This walk is not just a physical act, it is a performance of your humiliation, an indelible stain on your royal lineage. You finally reach your chambers, your sanctuary. The doors are heavy, ornate carvings of gilded wood. You push them open and step inside. The room is a testament to your pampered life, a massive four-poster bed with curtains of shimmering silk, a plush rug woven with intricate patterns, a vanity table laden with silver brushes and jewelled combs. The air is thick with the scent of lavender and rose petals. It is a place of comfort, of peace, of solitude, and you have just brought a frog into it. You walk to the bed and sit on the edge, the silk of the comforter cool against your trembling hands. The frog, with a series of quick, wet hops, makes its way from your shoulder across your lap and onto the bed itself. It lands on the pristine white silk, a tiny, disgusting stain of green and slime against the perfect linen. You watch, horrified, as it makes its way across the bed, towards the soft down pillows. It stops at the head of the bed, right where your head would rest, and settles down, its unblinking eyes fixed on you. "Come, princess," it says, its voice a low, commanding croak. "The promise was to sleep in your bed. We must share the space. Come." The command is so simple, so direct, so utterly repugnant. You look at the frog, a small, repulsive lump of green on your perfect bed. The thought of lying next to it, of its cold, slimy body sharing your warmth, of its disgusting presence defiling your sanctuary, is more than you can bear. It feels like a physical assault, a violation of your every sensibility. You grip the edge of the bed, your knuckles white, and shake your head. No, you whisper, your voice a choked, pathetic sob. I can't. You're a princess. You have an instinctive, almost physical revulsion to anything dirty or unkempt. Your whole life has been a carefully curated tapestry of cleanliness, beauty, and order. This frog is a direct challenge to that order. To lie with it is to defile everything you are. You cannot do it. You simply cannot. But the frog, his voice taking on a sharper, more insistent edge, croaks again. A promise is a promise. Princess, you gave your word, and a princess's word is her bond. Or do you mean to break your royal oath for a second time? The implied threat is clear. He will go back to the king. He will expose your dishonour. And the king, your father, will not forgive a second, more profound breach of your word. The shame, the humiliation, the sheer consequence of breaking a royal oath is far more terrifying than the physical disgust of the frog. You are trapped, a prisoner of your own thoughtless promise. You look at the frog, then at your bed, your perfect, beautiful, ruined bed. You have no choice. With a profound sense of resignation, a cold, heavy feeling of defeat, you slowly, reluctantly, lie down. You lie as far away from the frog as you can, pressing yourself against the cold, embroidered fabric of the far wall of the bed. You lie there, stiff and unmoving, your body a rigid line of silent revulsion. The frog, for its part, seems entirely content. It sits there, a small green sentinel, its unblinking eyes fixed on you, a profound satisfaction in its very stillness. The silence of the room is heavy, suffocating. You lie there, your body trembling, a single tear rolling down your cheek and soaking into the fine linen pillowcase. You have paid the price for your carelessness. You have fulfilled the promise. The frog has won. The most disgusting and terrifying day of your life is finally over. But the night, you realize with a fresh wave of panic, is just beginning. What happens when the morning comes? What will the frog demand then? The thought is a cold, hollow dread that settles deep in your bones. The fairy tale you thought you knew has been turned on its head, and you are living in the nightmare version, a prisoner in your own bed. You lie there, a rigid line of terror and revulsion in your own bed. The frog, a small green lump on the silk comforter, seems to be watching you, its unblinking eyes fixed on your pale, frightened face. The air in your chambers, once fragrant with lavender and roses, now seems thick with the smell of well scum and cold, damp earth. The silence of the night is heavy and suffocating, broken only by the frantic pounding of your own heart. This is it. The price has been paid. The promise has been fulfilled in its disgusting literal form. You lie awake for what feels like an eternity, unable to close your eyes, unable to relax, unable to escape the presence of this vile creature. Every passing second is an agonizing stretch of humiliation and fear. You think about your life, your gilded, perfect life, and how a single moment of carelessness has brought it all crashing down. You think of your father, his stern, disappointed face, and the unyielding sanctity of a royal oath. You are a prisoner in your own bed, and the guard is a frog. The concept of a moral contract, or a social debt, being enforced by supernatural means is a common theme in folklore. The frog's unwavering demand isn't just arbitrary, it's a magical enforcement to a societal law, a narrative tool to teach a lesson about the weight of one's word. The frog's presence is a living embodiment of your broken promise, a constant slimy reminder of your mistake. Hours crawl by. The moon, a cold silver eye, rises and then begins its slow descent. You lie there, stiff and unmoving, your body a rigid line of silent revulsion. You can't bring yourself to fall asleep with the frog so close. It's cold, wet body a mere foot away from you. The thought is an anathema. You just lie there, waiting for the night to end, waiting for the first light of dawn, hoping that with the sun, the magic, the curse, the entire horrible ordeal will simply vanish. But deep down, a cold dread tells you that this is not a dream. This is very, very real. The first rays of dawn, pale and grey, finally begin to filter through the heavy silk curtains. The light is a welcome sight, a beacon of hope, a promise of a new day. You lie there, watching the sunlight spread across your chambers, illuminating the familiar objects of your pampered life. You are a princess. This is your room. It was all a terrible, horrible nightmare. You turn your head, slowly, cautiously, towards the frog. It is still there, a small, green, repulsive lump on your bed. It's not a dream. The relief that had begun to blossom in your chest with the dawn's light shrivels and dies, replaced by a fresh wave of despair. The frog, it seems, has not magically disappeared. The curse, the promise, the entire nightmare, has not ended with the night. The frog, with a deep, gurgling sound, seems to stretch. It opens its wide mouth in what you can only describe as a giant, froggy yawn. Then it turns its head and looks at you. Its unblinking eyes, black and fathomless, seem to hold a profound, knowing intelligence. It's a look that says, "We are still in this together." Princess, it begins to hop. A series of small, wet, disgusting hops. It makes its way across the bed. Towards the edge, you watch, transfixed with revulsion, as it makes its way to the floor. It lands with a soft plop and begins to hop its way toward the door. The sound, that slow, wet thump, 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 is a soundtrack of your humiliation. It stops at the door, turning its head to look back at you. "Princess," it croaks, its voice deep and resonant. "The sun is up. Your promise has been fulfilled for the night. But I will be back. I will be back for supper. And I will be back for bed," with those terrifying words. It pushes the door open with a surprising amount of force and hops out into the quiet of the morning corridor. The sound of its hopping fades into the distance. You lie there, frozen, the silence of the room now a deafening roar. The air, once thick with the scent of well scum, now feels clean and fresh. The bed, once defiled by the frog's presence, now feels soft and clean again. But the mental stain, the psychological trauma of the night, remains. You finally sit up, your body stiff and aching. You look at the bed, at the faint, barely perceptible damp patch where the frog had lain. It's a small, insignificant stain, but to you, it's a gaping wound, a physical reminder of the violation, of the utter disgustingness of your night. You feel a wave of profound anger rise in your chest, a hot, desperate fury. This is a life sentence. This frog, this vile, slimy creature, is going to be your companion forever. He is going to eat your food, drink from your cup, and sleep in your bed, every night, for the rest of your life. This is not just a lesson, it's a punishment. You feel a burning, desperate rage. You are a princess. You are not a pawn in a frog's game. You are not an animal trainer. You are not meant to endure this kind of degradation. It is a violation of your very being. You look at the golden ball, which you had, in your fury and exhaustion, tossed to the floor at some point during the night. It sits there, catching the morning light, a brilliant, beautiful, and utterly cursed thing. A single, desperate thought takes hold of your mind, a violent, terrible notion born of rage and the sheer will to reclaim your life. You can't live like this. You won't live like this. This frog, this curse, this disgusting bargain, it has to end. You have to end it. You look around your chambers, your eyes searching for something, anything, that could serve as a weapon, a jewel-encrusted dagger, a heavy silver candlestick, a marble statue. Your eyes land on a small, porcelain doll that was given to you as a child. It's a delicate, fragile thing, a symbol of the innocent, pampered life you once led. You pick it up. It's porcelain, cold and smooth in your hand. It's too fragile, too weak. You need something stronger. Your eyes then fall on the wall, on the beautiful, priceless tapestry that depicts a great historical battle. The tapestry is held in place by a series of heavy, ornate iron nails. One of them, a large, thick nail, is slightly loose, its head an intricate, bronze carving of a lion. You walk towards it, your heart pounding with a renewed, desperate energy. You grab the lion's head and pull. The nail resists, but you are a princess, and you have a fierce, unyielding will. With a final, furious wrench, the nail comes free, the tapestry sagging slightly where it was once held. You look at the nail. A heavy, solid piece of wrought iron, a perfect, brutal weapon. Historically, the use of household items as improvised weapons in moments of desperation is a common detail in accounts of domestic conflict and self-defense. A stark reality in a world without easy access to more formal armaments. This wasn't a hero's sword, it was a desperate tool of self-preservation. You clutch the nail in your hand. It's cold. Hard weight, a strange comfort. This is not a fairy tale. This is not a story about a kiss and a magical transformation. This is a story about a desperate princess, pushed to the very limits of her endurance. This is a story about a desperate act, a violent defiance of a terrible, unjust fate. You can't live like this. You won't. And that frog, that disgusting, vile, insufferable creature, is not going to ruin your life. He is not going to touch your food. He is not going to sleep in your bed. He is not going to be your companion. You walk to the open door of your chambers, the heavy iron nail a cold, comforting presence in your hand. You have no plan. You have no idea where the frog is, but you have a new-found, terrible purpose. You are going to find that creature, and you are going to end this nightmare, once and for all. You are not a victim. You are not a puppet. You are a princess, and you are taking back your life, one brutal, desperate act at a time. The fairy tale, as you know it, is over. The true, bloody, and horrifying story has just begun. You stand in the open doorway of your chambers, the heavy iron nail a cold, brutal weight in your hand. The fairy tale, with its notions of kisses and happy endings, has been burned away by the white-hot furnace of your rage. You are no longer a passive princess waiting for salvation. You are a survivor, and you will not be a victim again. The silence of the palace is heavy, the air thick with the unspoken promises and whispered secrets of centuries. It is in this silence that you, a princess with a weapon in your hand, make your own promise this nightmare ends today. You walk through the corridors, your steps silent on the plush carpets. You are a predator, your mind a single, focused point of vengeance. You have no idea where the frog has gone, but you know its habits now. The well, the gardens, the palace kitchens. These are its hunting grounds, its domain. You will find it. You will end this. You pass a small, stained glass window, and the morning light, fractured into 1,000 colours, dances across your determined face. The reflection you see is not the pampered, innocent princess of yesterday. This is a new you, born in the crucible of fear and humiliation. This is the you who will not cower, who will not cry, who will not be a prisoner in your own home. You move to the palace kitchens first. The frog, after all, loves food. The kitchens are a massive, bustling cavern of heat and sound, a symphony of clanging pots, sizzling pans, and the low hum of the massive ovens. You are an unwelcome sight here, a princess with a weapon, a creature of silk and lace in a world of soot and sweat. The scullery maids and chefs look at you with wide, confused eyes, but you ignore them. You scan the floor, the countertops, the massive hearth. No frog. You move on. a silent, relentless huntress, to the gardens. The air is cool and fragrant with the scent of jasmine and roses. The morning dew still glistens on the leaves. The gardens, once a place of serene escape, now feel like a hunting ground. You search the lily pads of the ornamental ponds, the cool shadows beneath the manicured hedges, the moist earth around the fountains. Still no frog. The creature is elusive, hiding from your righteous fury. Your search finally leads you back to the great hall, to the massive, carved oak doors that open to the outside. The sun is higher now, and a brilliant shaft of light cuts across the marble floor. You see it, a single, glistening trail, a faint slimy line leading away from the palace and towards the woods. It is a trail of humiliation, of violation, of filth. It is the frog's calling card, a physical manifestation of your nightmare. With a deep breath, you follow the trail, the heavy iron nail a cold comfort in your hand. You push through the doors, a princess on a mission of vengeance. You follow the slimy trail across the lawn, past the astonished gaze of a few early morning guards. You don't care. Your mission is singular, your purpose absolute. The trail leads you back to the well, to the very source of this entire ordeal. You look down, your eyes squinting into the shadowy depths. No frog. You scan the mossy stones, the damp earth, the lily pads. Still no frog. You feel a wave of frustration and desperate futility. Where is it? Where is this vile creature, this tiny slimy tormentor? Then you hear it, a faint, low, croaking sound, not from the well, but from the shadow of a large, gnarled oak tree. The sound is almost imperceptible, a quiet, guttural hum that only your heightened senses can detect. You creep towards the tree, your heart pounding. You feel a surge of terrible excitement. The hunt is almost over. The nightmare is about to end. You round the corner of the tree, and you see it, the frog. It is sitting on a patch of sun-drenched moss, its eyes closed, a look of profound, blissful contentment on its wide mouth. It is humming, a low, guttural croak of a tune, completely at peace, completely unaware of the furious princess with the iron nail in her hand, the sheer audacity of its happiness. After what it has put you through is a final, unbearable insult. Your fury, which has been a low, simmering flame all morning, now explodes into a raging inferno. This disgusting creature, this walking stain, is happy. It is content after it ruined your dinner, defiled your bed, and humiliated you in front of your father and your entire household. No, this ends now. You raise the heavy iron nail, its lion's head gleaming in the morning sun. You stand over the frog, your body a silhouette of righteous vengeance. "This is for my dinner," you whisper, a low, savage growl of a voice you do not recognize. "This is for my bed, and this is for my shame." You bring the nail down, a swift, brutal arc of iron and fury. The sound it makes as it strikes is a sickening, wet splat, a final punctuation mark on your nightmare. The frog, a small, green smear on the mossy earth, lies motionless. A wave of profound, exhausted relief washes over you, so intense it makes your knees weak. It is over. The nightmare is finally over. You have won. You have reclaimed your life. You stand there, panting, the nail in your hand, a small, triumphant warrior in a silken gown. The silence is profound. The hum of the frog's humming is gone. The sun feels warm and benevolent on your face. You feel a sense of triumph, of justice, of finality. But then a low, quiet sound breaks the silence, a sound like a low, pained groan. Your blood runs cold. The frog, it can't be. You look down at the smear on the mossy earth. The body is still there, motionless. But the sound, it is coming from there. You kneel, cautiously. a wave of terrified bewilderment washing over you, and then, before your very eyes, a horrifying and utterly magical thing happens. The small, green, mangled form of the frog begins to tremble, it begins to shimmer. The slimy skin, the webbed feet, the wide, unmoving mouth, it all begins to change. The green skin fades, peeling away like an old, dry husk. The tiny broken bones begin to knit themselves back together, not as frog bones, but as something else. The form grows, expands, contorts, a sickening, unholy transformation that makes your stomach churn. It is a slow, agonizing process, a physical manifestation of a curse being broken, of a spell being violently, brutally undone. The change is not beautiful, it is grotesque. It is a thing of horror and pain. The frog's limbs stretch and lengthen. Its head changes shape, its unblinking eyes becoming something else. The sound of bones cracking and flesh reforming is a sickening, wet chorus in the morning stillness. You watch, transfixed with a terrible fascination, your triumph of a moment ago evaporating into a cold, profound terror. What have you done? What monster have you created? Finally, the transformation is over. Where the frog once lay, a young man now lies, naked, bruised, and clearly in immense pain. His skin is pale, his hair a shocking shade of gold, and his eyes, when he opens them, are a brilliant, luminous green. He looks at you, his eyes filled with a mixture of immense pain, profound sorrow, and a strange, quiet gratitude. He is a prince, a real, living, breathing prince, and you, with a heavy iron nail, have just shattered a curse by a single, violent, desperate act. The transformation seen in many original folklore versions is often not a romantic kiss, but a violent act of rage, reflecting a more brutal understanding of magic where curses are broken not by love but by force. The magical and physical violence of this transformation is a direct callback to those darker, less sanitized tellings. The fairy tale is over. The real story, with its messy, painful, and terrifying consequences, has just begun. You stare at the young man, naked, bruised, and broken on the mossy earth, a testament to your violent act. The heavy iron nail, once a weapon of righteous fury, now feels like an obscene, terrible burden in your hand. The frog, the slimy, disgusting creature you had hunted with such vengeance, is gone. In its place is a man, a prince, a living, breathing consequence of your rage. His brilliant green eyes, filled with a mixture of immense pain and something else as strange, deep-seated relief, are fixed on you. The silent, trembling princess in the silk gown. What have I done? You whisper, your voice a choked sob. The triumphant relief of a moment ago has been replaced by a cold, profound terror. You didn't break a curse, you committed a violent, terrible act. You didn't save a prince, you shattered a frog. The horror of the transformation, the sickening sounds of bones breaking and flesh reforming, echoes in your mind, a gruesome counterpoint to the quiet beauty of the morning. The prince, with a pained groan, tries to sit up. You, in a sudden, almost instinctual movement, drop the nail and rush to his side. You are a princess, and a helpless, injured man, no matter how he came to be, is in need of your care. You forget your terror, your revulsion, your shame. You are simply a human, responding to another's pain. You gently place a hand on his shoulder, your fingers brushing against his pale, bruised skin. He flinches, but then leans into your touch, his body trembling with the aftershocks of the brutal transformation. Be still, you say, your voice surprisingly calm. You're hurt. You look him over, a new kind of panic rising in your chest. His body is covered in small, raw wounds, the remnants of the frog's mangled form. The iron nail had done its work, but it was not a clean break. The magic had been forced, the curse broken by violence, and the physical toll was evident on his body. The prince looks at you, his luminous green eyes filled with a gratitude so profound it is almost heartbreaking. "Thank you," he whispers, his voice raw, hoarse from his time as a frog. "Thank you, Princess. You have freed me." His words, instead of bringing you comfort, bring a fresh wave of shame. "Freed you," you stammer. "And I hurt you. I killed a frog." He shakes his head, a faint, sad smile on his lips. "The frog was me. The curse was broken by your anger, by your sheer will to be free. The witch's magic was powerful, but it was brittle. It could not withstand such a violent, final act of defiance. The curse stated that I would only be freed when a royal maiden's righteous fury broke my cursed form. The mechanics of curses and magical enchantments in folklore are often complex and paradoxical. A curse that can only be broken by a violent, unromantic act rather than a kiss is a darker, less sanitized twist on the classic tale, reflecting a world where magic is not always benevolent and love is not always the answer. The kiss, you realize, was a later addition, a pretty lie meant to soften the brutal truth of the magic. You sit there, stunned, the full weight of the situation crashing down on you. He was a frog, a victim of a curse, just as you were a victim of a promise. But your promise was self-inflicted, born of carelessness. His curse was a malevolent act, a punishment for an unknown crime, and you, in your rage, had become both his tormentor and his saviour. He continues, his voice low and painful. "I was a prince, a true prince, of a kingdom far from here. I was a brash, arrogant young man, a bit too full of myself. I stumbled into the domain of a powerful sorceress, and in my foolish pride, I mocked her power. She cursed me, not to be a frog forever, but to remain a frog until I could convince a royal maiden to love me enough to break the curse with a kiss. A cruel, ironic joke, for who could ever love a frog?" You think back on the disgusting dinner, the vile night, the constant revulsion you felt. Love. There was no love, only a profound, unadulterated disgust. The witch's curse was a stroke of pure, psychological genius. It was an impossible task, a forever prison, the curse as a form of moral punishment. Teaching a lesson in humility or true love is a classic folklore trope. The curse on this prince, however, is not just a lesson, it's a trap, an impossible predicament designed to torment a proud young man with the very thing he lacks: humility and the ability to inspire genuine affection in his cursed form. The fairy tale, you realize, has a far more bitter and complicated origin than the one you have always known. But then, the prince says, his brilliant green eyes meeting yours, "You came, and your desperation for your golden ball was my only hope. I knew you would promise anything. I knew you would not be able to break that promise, not with your father's sense of royal honour. I saw the rage in your eyes, the profound revulsion at the dinner table and in your bed. I knew that love would never break this curse, but I also knew, in my heart, that a different, more powerful emotion might, a royal maiden's fury. The witch's curse was a paradox. It could not be broken by a soft kiss, but it could be broken by a violent act born of righteous rage. My freedom came from your willingness to fight back, to reclaim your life, to defy the curse with every fibre of your being." His words, a stunning, brutal explanation of the last 2 days, leave you speechless. You look at him, at this young man whose life you had saved with a single, furious swing of a hammer. You hadn't been a princess in a fairy tale. You had been a pawn in a cursed prince's desperate, dangerous game. Your rage, your humiliation, your profound disgust, all of it had been part of his plan. He had orchestrated the entire nightmare, playing on your weaknesses, your pride, and your father's sense of honour. You feel a new wave of emotion, not of terror, but of a cold, furious betrayal. He had used you. He had manipulated you. He had put you through 2 days of pure, unadulterated torment, all for his own freedom. You stare at him, the hero of your story, and you see a manipulative, self-serving stranger who, despite his gratitude, had put you through a living hell. You knew, you say, your voice low and dangerous. You knew what would happen. You knew what I would endure. He nods, a faint shadow of shame crossing his face. Yes, I knew. I had to. I had tried everything else. I had tried to charm maidens, to convince them of my plight. But no one would believe a frog. No one would suffer my presence for more than a moment. You were my last chance. I gambled on your desperation, on your royal honour, on your fierce, unyielding will to get your life back. I am truly sorry for the pain I have caused you, Princess, but you must understand I was a prisoner, and you were my only key. His words are both an apology and a justification, and you don't know how to feel. He is a prince, a victim of a terrible curse, but he is also a manipulator who put you through a nightmare. He is both your rescuer and your tormentor, the hero and the villain of your story. The lines of black and white have blurred into a complex, messy, and deeply unsettling shade of grey. The morally ambiguous nature of a protagonist is a departure from the classic fairy tales, where characters are often either purely good or purely evil. The Frog Prince, in this telling, is not a simple hero but a flawed, desperate character who uses manipulative means for a noble end. This moral complexity makes for a more compelling and realistic narrative. This story, you realise, is not about a magical kiss. It is about manipulation, about desperation, about a violent act, and about a very, very complicated happy ending. The sun, now a benevolent eye in the sky, warms your skin, but a cold dread still holds you in its grip. You are sitting on the mossy earth next to a prince, a beautiful, golden-haired man with luminous green eyes, whose freedom you purchased with a violent, desperate act. His confession hangs in the air, a web of manipulation and cold calculation. He had used you, played upon your weaknesses, and put you through 2 days of living hell, all for his own freedom. He is a victim, yes, but he is also a perpetrator, and you, in your righteous fury, are both his tormentor and his saviour. He looks at you, his eyes filled with a profound sorrow and a quiet plea for understanding. Princess, you have to believe me. I did not want to put you through such torment, but the curse was absolute. I had tried everything. I had spent decades, centuries, as a frog, hopping from kingdom to kingdom, trying to find a princess with a compassionate heart who would give me a kiss. But every time, the kiss would fail. The witch's magic was too strong. The kiss of true love was an illusion, a cruel joke. The curse could only be broken by a violent act of defiance, an act of sheer, unadulterated fury from a maiden who had been wronged. You were the first to show that kind of rage. You look at him, at his pale, bruised body, at the genuine remorse in his eyes. You had thought he was a monster, a vile creature sent to torment you, but he was a prisoner, just as you were. His prison was a slimy, green body, and his key was your anger. The truth is a heavy, confusing burden. You are not a monster. You are not a victim. You are just a human, a princess, who was caught in a horrifying magical web of lies and desperation. So, you say, your voice still raw with emotion, what happens now? You are a prince. I am a princess. We have a problem. The understatement is so profound that it's almost comical. You had just shattered a curse with a hammer, and now you have a naked, bruised prince sitting in the woods with you, he smiles, a faint, pained expression. I'm in your debt, princess, for my life, my kingdom, my very soul. They all belong to you. I'm not a man of this time. My kingdom is far from here, a land of ancient magic and forgotten gods. I have been a frog for so long that I have forgotten the face of my own father, the language of my own people. I am lost. And you are the only one who can guide me. His words. Instead of bringing comfort, bring a fresh wave of panic. He is a stranger, a man from a different world, and he has just laid the weight of his entire existence on your shoulders. You are a princess, and your life is about to be turned upside down, not just by a frog, but by a prince, a kingdom, a world you know nothing about. I can't, you say, shaking your head. I can't. I have my life, my father, my kingdom. I can't just leave. The thought of leaving the gilded cage, the safety of your familiar world, is terrifying. You are a creature of habit, of order, of predictable routine. The idea of a new, magical, and unknown world is a prospect that, for all its romanticism, is also deeply unsettling. He looks at you, his green eyes filled with a new kind of sadness. Princess, you have already left. The moment you made that promise, the moment you endured my presence, the moment you struck me with that iron nail, you left your old life behind. The fairy tale you knew is gone. A new one has just begun. And you are its queen. His words are not a threat, but a simple, unvarnished truth. Your life, your identity, your world, they have all been fundamentally changed by this single, horrifying event. You can't go back. There is no going back to the princess who cried over a golden ball. He looks at the iron nail, lying on the ground, a small dark object against the green moss. That nail, he says, a strange reverence in his voice. The iron of this time, of this land. It broke the magic of an ancient curse. It is a powerful symbol. Princess, it is the symbol of your will, of your defiance. You are not just a princess, you are a hero. You look at the nail, then at him. He is a beautiful man, with a beautiful story, but he is a stranger. You are a princess, but you are a warrior, a woman who has endured a nightmare and come out the other side, not with a kiss, but with an iron nail. This is not a story of love at first sight. It is a story of a violent, complicated, and deeply unsettling bond. You are bound to him, not by a kiss, but by a curse, by an oath, by an act of sheer, unadulterated fury. The theme of a hero's journey in folklore often involves an individual being forced out of their ordinary world and into a supernatural one through a transformative experience. Your journey, from a pampered princess to a reluctant hero, fits this model, with the violent act against the frog serving as the crucial inciting incident that shatters your old reality. Your new life has just begun, and you are its queen. A queen who wields an iron nail, and a queen who has a very, very complicated relationship with a prince from a forgotten land. You sit there, in the quiet of the morning, with a bruised, naked prince at your side, and you feel a strange sense of peace. The panic is still there, the confusion, the lingering revulsion, but there is also a sense of purpose, a sense of destiny. You are no longer a passive puppet in a golden cage. You are an active participant in your own story. You have been tested, and you have survived. You have been broken, and you have been remade. You have lost your innocence, but you have found your strength. The fairy tale is over, the true, and far more interesting story has just begun. You stand up, your silk gown rustling in the morning breeze. You hold out a hand to the prince. He takes it, his skin warm and surprisingly smooth. He looks at you, his green eyes filled with a mixture of immense pain, profound gratitude, and a quiet, unshakable hope. You are a princess. He is a prince, and together, you are about to embark on a journey that will change not just your lives, but the very fabric of your world. The gilded cage is gone. The unknown, terrifying, and utterly magical world awaits, and you, the princess with the iron nail, are ready. The historians still debate whether the prince's kingdom was a physical place or a magical one, a land of ancient magic and forgotten gods. Some believe he was a time traveller, a man from a distant past, cursed to live as a frog in a modern, medieval world. Others believe his kingdom was a parallel universe, a land of magic and myth that existed just beyond the veil of your reality. His sudden appearance, his archaic language, his strange, almost timeless quality, all point to a man who is not of this world, a man who has been a frog for so long that he has forgotten the face of his own father, the language of his own people. The truth, like all good stories, is a little bit of both. He is a man of myth and magic, a walking testament to a world you thought only existed in children's tales. And now, he is your companion, your partner, your charge. You are bound to him, not by love, not by a kiss, but by an act of violence, by a curse, and by an unbreakable, unspoken oath. The fairy tale is over. The true, and far more interesting, story has just begun. The sun, now a benevolent eye in the sky, warms your skin, but a cold dread still holds you in its grip. You are sitting on the mossy earth next to a prince, a beautiful golden-haired man with luminous green eyes, whose freedom you purchased with a violent, desperate act. His confession hangs in the air, a web of manipulation and cold calculation. He had used you, played upon your weaknesses, and put you through 2 days of living hell, all for his own freedom. He is a victim, yes, but he is also a perpetrator, and you, in your righteous fury, are both his tormentor and his saviour. He looks at you, his eyes filled with a profound sorrow and a quiet plea for understanding. Princess, you have to believe me. I did not want to put you through such torment, but the curse was absolute. I had tried everything. I had spent decades, centuries as a frog, hopping from kingdom to kingdom, trying to find a princess with a compassionate heart who would give me a kiss, but every time, the kiss would fail. The witch's magic was too strong. The kiss of true love was an illusion, a cruel joke. The curse could only be broken by a violent act of defiance, an act of sheer, unadulterated fury from a maiden who had been wronged. You were the first to show that kind of rage. You look at him, at his pale and bruised body, at the genuine remorse in his eyes. You had thought he was a monster, a vile creature sent to torment you, but he was a prisoner, just as you were. His prison was a slimy, green body, and his key was your anger. The truth is a heavy, confusing burden. You are not a monster. You are not a victim. You are just a human, a princess, who was caught in a horrifying, magical web of lies and desperation. So, you say, your voice still raw with emotion, what happens now? You are a prince. I am a princess. We have a problem. The understatement is so profound that it's almost comical. You had just shattered a curse with a hammer, and now you have a naked, bruised prince sitting in the woods with you. He smiles, a faint pained expression. I'm in your debt, princess, and my life, my kingdom, my very soul. They all belong to you. I'm not a man of this time. My kingdom is far from here, a land of ancient magic and forgotten gods. I have been a frog for so long that I have forgotten the face of my own father, the language of my own people. I am lost, and you are the only one who can guide me. His words, instead of bringing comfort, bring a fresh wave of panic. He is a stranger, a man from a different world, and he has just laid the weight of his entire existence on your shoulders. You are a princess, and your life is about to be turned upside down, not just by a frog, but by a prince, a kingdom, a world you know nothing about. I can't, you say, shaking your head. I can't. I have my life, my father, my kingdom. I can't just leave. The thought of leaving the gilded cage, the safety of your familiar world, is terrifying. You are a creature of habit, of order, of predictable routine. The idea of a new, magical, and unknown world is a prospect that, for all its romanticism, is also deeply unsettling. He looks at you, his green eyes filled with a new kind of sadness. Princess, you have already left. The moment you made that promise, the moment you endured my presence, the moment you struck me with that iron nail, you left your old life behind. The fairy tale you knew is gone. A new one has just begun, and you are its queen. His words are not a threat, but a simple, unvarnished truth. Your life, your identity, your world, they have all been fundamentally changed by this single, horrifying event. You can't go back. There is no going back to the princess who cried over a golden ball. He looks at the iron nail, lying on the ground, a small dark object against the green moss. The nail, he says, a strange reverence in his voice. The iron of this time, of this land. It broke the magic of an ancient curse. It is a powerful symbol. Princess, it is the symbol of your will, of your defiance. You are not just a princess, but you are a hero. You look at the nail, then at him. He is a beautiful man, with a beautiful story, but he is a stranger. You are a princess, but you are a warrior, a woman who has endured a nightmare and come out the other side, not with a kiss, but with an iron nail. This is not a story of love at first sight. It is a story of a violent, complicated, and deeply unsettling bond. You are bound to him, not by a kiss, but by a curse, by an oath, by an act of sheer, unadulterated fury. The theme of a hero's journey in folklore often involves an individual being forced out of their ordinary world and into a supernatural one through a transformative experience. Your journey, from a pampered princess to a reluctant hero, fits this model, with the violent act against the frog serving as the crucial inciting incident that shatters your old reality. Your new life has just begun, and you are its queen, a queen who wields an iron nail, and a queen who has a very, very complicated relationship with a prince from a forgotten land. You sit there, in the quiet of the morning, with a bruised, naked prince at your side, and you feel a strange sense of peace. The panic is still there, the confusion, the lingering revulsion, but there is also a sense of purpose, a sense of destiny. You are no longer a passive puppet in a golden cage. You are an active participant in your own story. You have been tested, and you have survived. You have been broken, and you have been remade. You have lost your innocence, but you have found your strength. The fairy tale is over. The true, and far more interesting, story has just begun. You stand up, your silk gown rustling in the morning breeze. You hold out a hand to the prince. He takes it, his skin warm and surprisingly smooth. He looks at you, his green eyes filled with a mixture of immense pain, profound gratitude, and a quiet, unshakable hope. You are a princess, he is a prince, and together, you are about to embark on a journey that will change not just your lives, but the very fabric of your world. The gilded cage is gone, the unknown, terrifying, and utterly magical world awaits, and you, the princess with the iron nail, are ready. The historians still debate whether the prince's kingdom was a physical place or a magical one, a land of ancient magic and forgotten gods. Some believe he was a time traveller, a man from a distant past, cursed to live as a frog in a modern, medieval world. Others believe his kingdom was a parallel universe, a land of magic and myth that existed just beyond the veil of your reality. His sudden appearance, his archaic language, his strange, almost timeless quality, all point to a man who is not of this world, a man who has been a frog for so long that he has forgotten the face of his own father, the language of his own people. The truth, like all good stories, is a little bit of both. He's a man of myth and magic, a walking testament to a world you thought only existed in children's tales. And now, he is your companion, your partner, your charge. You are bound to him, not by love, not by a kiss, but by an act of violence, by a curse, and by an unbreakable, unspoken oath. The fairy tale is over. The true, and far more interesting, story has just begun. The sun, now high and bright in the sky, warms your skin. But a cold dread still holds you in its grip. You are sitting on the mossy earth next to a prince, a beautiful golden-haired man with luminous green eyes, whose freedom you purchased with a violent, desperate act. His confession hangs in the air, a web of manipulation and cold calculation. He had used you, played upon your weaknesses, and put you through 2 days of living hell, all for his own freedom. He is a victim. Yes, but he is also a perpetrator, and you, in your righteous fury, are both his tormentor and his saviour. He looks at you, his eyes filled with a profound sorrow and a quiet plea for understanding. Princess, you have to believe me. I did not want to put you through such torment, but the curse was absolute. I had tried everything. I had spent decades, centuries as a frog, hopping from kingdom to kingdom, trying to find a princess with a compassionate heart who would give me a kiss. But every time, the kiss would fail. The witch's magic was too strong. The kiss of true love was an illusion, a cruel joke. The curse could only be broken by a violent act of defiance, an act of sheer, unadulterated fury from a maiden who had been wronged. You were the first to show that kind of rage. You look at him, at his pale, bruised body, at the genuine remorse in his eyes. You had thought he was a monster, a vile creature sent to torment you, but he was a prisoner, just as you were. His prison was a slimy, green body, and his key was your anger. The truth is a heavy, confusing burden. You are not a monster. You are not a victim. You are just a human, a princess, who was caught in a horrifying, magical web of lies and desperation. So, you say, your voice still raw with emotion. What happens now? You are a prince. I am a princess. We have a problem. The understatement is so profound that it's almost comical. You had just shattered a curse with a hammer, and now you have a naked, bruised prince sitting in the woods with you. He smiles, a faint, pained expression. I'm in your debt. Princess of my life, my kingdom, my very soul. They all belong to you. I'm not a man of this time. My kingdom is far from here, a land of ancient magic and forgotten gods. I have been a frog for so long that I have forgotten the face of my own father, the language of my own people. I am lost. And you are the only one who can guide me. His words, instead of bringing comfort, bring a fresh wave of panic. He is a stranger, a man from a different world, and he has just laid the weight of his entire existence on your shoulders. You are a princess, and your life is about to be turned upside down, not just by a frog, but by a prince, a kingdom, a world you know nothing about. I can't, you say, shaking your head. I can't. I have my life, my father, my kingdom. I can't just leave. The thought of leaving the gilded cage, the safety of your familiar world, is terrifying. You are a creature of habit, of order, of predictable routine. The idea of a new, magical, and unknown world is a prospect that, for all its romanticism, is also deeply unsettling. He looks at you, his green eyes filled with a new kind of sadness. Princess, you have already left. The moment you made that promise, the moment you endured my presence, the moment you struck me with that iron nail, you left your old life behind. The fairy tale you knew is gone. A new one has just begun, and you are its queen. His words are not a threat, but a simple, unvarnished truth. Your life, your identity, your world, they have all been fundamentally changed by this single, horrifying event. You can't go back. There's no going back to the princess who cried over a golden ball. He looks at the iron nail, lying on the ground, a small dark object against the green moss. That nail, he says, a strange reverence in his voice. The iron of this time, of this land. It broke the magic of an ancient curse. It is a powerful symbol. Princess, it is the symbol of your will, of your defiance. You are not just a princess, you are a hero. You look at the nail, then at him. He is a beautiful man, with a beautiful story, but he is a stranger. You are a princess, but you are a warrior, a woman who has endured a nightmare and come out the other side, not with a kiss, but with an iron nail. This is not a story of love at first sight. It is a story of a violent, complicated, and deeply unsettling bond. You are bound to him, not by a kiss, but by a curse, by an oath, by an act of sheer, unadulterated fury. The theme of a hero's journey in folklore often involves an individual being forced out of their ordinary world and into a supernatural one through a transformative experience. Your journey, from a pampered princess to a reluctant hero, fits this model, with the violent act against the frog serving as the crucial inciting incident that shatters your old reality. Your new life has just begun, and you are its queen, a queen who wields an iron nail, and a queen who has a very, very complicated relationship with a prince from a forgotten land. You sit there, in the quiet of the morning, with a bruised and naked prince at your side, and you feel a strange sense of peace. The panic is still there, the confusion, the lingering revulsion, but there is also a sense of purpose, a sense of destiny. You are no longer a passive puppet in a golden cage. You are an active participant in your own story. You have been tested, and you have survived. You have been broken, and you have been remade. You have lost your innocence, but you have found your strength. The fairy tale is over. The true, and far more interesting, story has just begun. You stand up, your silk gown rustling in the morning breeze. You hold out a hand to the prince. He takes it, his skin warm and surprisingly smooth. He looks at you, his green eyes filled with a mixture of immense pain, profound gratitude, and a quiet, unshakable hope. You are a princess. He is a prince, and together, you are about to embark on a journey that will change not just your lives, but the very fabric of your world. The gilded cage is gone, the unknown, terrifying, and utterly magical world awaits, and you, the princess with the iron nail, are ready. The historians still debate whether the prince's kingdom was a physical place or a magical one, a land of ancient magic and forgotten gods. Some believe he was a time traveller, a man from a distant past, cursed to live as a frog in a modern, medieval world. Others believe his kingdom was a parallel universe, a land of magic and myth that existed just beyond the veil of your reality. His sudden appearance, his archaic language, his strange, almost timeless quality, all point to a man who is not of this world, a man who has been a frog for so long that he has forgotten the face of his own father, the language of his own people. The truth, like all good stories, is a little bit of both. He is a man of myth and magic, a walking testament to a world you thought only existed in children's tales. And now, he is your companion, your partner, your charge. You are bound to him, not by love, not by a kiss, but by an act of violence, by a curse, and by an unbreakable, unspoken oath. The fairy tale is over. The true, and far more interesting, story has just begun. And so, the story of the Frog Prince comes to a close. It is not the romantic fairy tale we so often tell, but an ending riddled with wounds, both physical and emotional. Imagine yourself, after all that has transpired, standing on the threshold of a new life. The chirping birds outside may have taken on a deeper meaning, or perhaps you have simply learned how to listen. The image of the loathsome frog, the damp hearth in the castle, and your father's angry gaze all seem to fade into the night, becoming a part of the past, of memory. Though never truly erased, you have come a long way, overcoming seemingly impossible challenges. Now, let your mind drift, relax every muscle, every lingering thought. The tranquil night will embrace you, lulling you into a deep, peaceful sleep. Let these final images vanish, like thin wisps of smoke in the calm air. You are safe now. Sleep calls.